Hello, welcome back. It's so good to see you. So today we are going to be doing another book review. And this book is called The Midnight Library. I got this at Target, obviously. My aunt gave me a gift card right after Easter. And I bought, some essential things. But then I decided to get a book, so technically my aunt bought me this book. Okay, so this is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I don't know how you say that. It says it is the author of How to Stop Time. I've never heard of that book, and I've never heard of this book. I was just looking at random books, and I read the back of this book, and I was like, oh yes, this sounds right up my alley. So let me read you the back, and then I will tell you what it's about and how I feel about the book and if I recommend it. Okay, so this says, we all have regrets, choices we could have made differently, paths we didn't take, other lives we might have led. But what if you were given a chance to fix your past? Enter the Midnight Library. Nora's life has been going from bad to worse. Then, at the stroke of midnight, on her last day on Earth, she finds herself transported to the Midnight Library, where each book contains an alternate life, a possible world in which she made different choices. She is given what seems like the ultimate opportunity, a chance to undo her regrets and try out each of the other lives she might have led. But things aren't always what she imagined they'd be, and soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question. With infinite choices, what is the best way to live? That sounds really good, right? It's exactly why I got it, because that's my kind of thing, Before we get into it, I do want to put a trigger warning out there, because it has some sensitive, topics. So, trigger warning right here. If you're triggered by certain things, just back out now. Back out now. Okay. I'm just going to say it right up front. I hated this book. Hated it. And I went and looked it up after I read it, and it has, 400,000 4-star reviews or whatever, and I'm just like, no. I think if you are a normal, happy person who doesn't struggle with anything in life, first of all, you're very lucky. Second of all, you'll love this book. This book is supposed to be an uplifting book about life. No, it is not. If you are depressed in any way whatsoever, do not, I repeat, do not read this book. Because we followed this woman, her name is Nora, on her last day on Earth. And it is her last day on Earth because she is very depressed and she is suicidal, and she does take her own life. I did not realize how depressed I was until I read this book. I'm like, oh my goodness, because don't get me wrong, I don't have those type of thoughts, okay, but the way she thinks and the way I think are similar, which is why this book was really hard for me to read, because like I said, I didn't realize that I was as depressed as I was until I read this book. And it did take me a while to read it because, you know, I have the shaky vision. So I had to read it in increments, and that's something I also do not recommend when reading this book. But I didn't have a choice, you know. I can only read when my eyes are not doing the shakiness. But everything is going not so good in her life, you know. And she says that every decision she's ever made in her entire life has been the wrong decision. And I have said that before on this channel. Just every decision was wrong. And she has all these regrets and thoughts of, well, what if I would have done this or made this choice or never broke up with this person, or, you know. I'm sure everyone has regrets, but she regrets every decision she's ever made, and I feel that, okay? It is cool, the theme of the book. So after she, you know, takes her own life, she doesn't just die right away. She is transported to the Midnight Library, which I think is supposed to represent like purgatory or something. I don't know. But she's not in heaven, she's not in hell, anything like that. But she's transported to this library, and there's a librarian who I would think would be like a spirit guide or something, but it presents itself as a librarian that she had when she was, I don't know, in elementary school or something, like when she was little. Somebody that gave her comfort in dark times when she was a child. And I think it's to like help her, you know, not freak out or be scared, you know. And there are all these books in this library, which if you are a spiritual person, not religious, but spiritual person, you know about the library, okay? This library is a bit different. Each book in the library is her life. But how can there be so many books? How is that possible? Well, this book also deals with quantum physics. I don't know if this book is a work of fiction, okay? Like, it is labeled as that. But it's like, this seems a little too accurate and real, okay? If you are spiritually awakened, you will understand. But every choice that you make, whether it be to go right or go left, you know, just as an example, well, based off of that one decision that you made, your life is completely different from if you would have gone left instead of right, or vice versa. Or if you broke up with this person, or you decided not to break up with this person and you stayed with them, or you decided to go to college, not go to college. You decided to study philosophy versus studying science. Just every decision that you make, big or small, creates a different timeline. And if you know anything about quantum physics, which I know very little, but there are multiple, like, different realities and stuff, and with each decision that you choose creates a new timeline, parallel universes, okay? And you exist in all of them, all of these universes. But there is like one main root life, that you're only aware of one root life, even though you have all these other lives branching out with different outcomes and situations. So this girl hates her life, hates it so much. She's so depressed. Everything is just the worst. She feels useless, and what's the point, right? So she does something to take her life, and she ends up in this library, and she's given an opportunity to pick up these other books. And when she starts reading her life in a different timeline, she's immediately inserted into that life, and she can experience it based off of different decisions that she's made, which again sounds very cool. But none of these lives make her happy. None of them, like she was like, well, I wish me and this guy never broke up. What would my life be like? So she picks up that book, she reads it, and it's not good. It's not good. Or what if I would have, she was in a band at some point. She was like, what if I never left the band? How would my life be then? Completely different. Completely different. But it didn't make her happy, because in one life, her parents were alive. In another life, her mom dies, or her dad dies, or her brother dies, or her friend dies, based off of small, insignificant decisions have major impact. Again, it sounds cool, but I don't know, it made me not happy, because she wasn't happy, even reliving these decisions that she would think would, make her happy. Nothing made her happy. And this book was very predictable, which I hate predictability. And so basically, she's supposed to be seeing that, every decision that you make, it does affect your life, but true happiness comes from within, and I don't know, it was really upsetting. What I thought, there was a part in here that was very interesting, because she was just inserted into these lives without any prior knowledge of, past history or anything like that, or anything that's, can you imagine just waking up in a life and you're you, but your whole world is different, and you don't know, who is this person that I'm married to, and like, are my friends here? What is my job? But she meets someone else in one of the timelines who is like her. I don't know if he's in a coma, or if he tried to take his own life, or what his situation is, but he is like her, where he can hop into different lives. And I think he calls himself like a slider or something, because you can slide in and out of lives, and if you are in any way unhappy in the life that you have slid into, you will automatically be transported back to the Midnight Library, and you can choose a different life. But I thought it was interesting that she met someone who was like her, and they were able to compare notes and stuff like that, But I hated it because she finally found a life that she was actually happy in. Spoiler alerts here, okay? This is a very honest book review, and I have to tell you why I hate it. So, major spoiler alerts. If you have not read this book and you want to, back out now. Back out now. She finds a life that she is actually happy in. Finally. Okay? She's married. She has a daughter. And she spends weeks. I'm talking weeks in this life, okay? And then she suddenly feels the pull, like she's being pulled back to the Midnight Library. She's like, no, I don't want to go back there. This is my perfect life. This life is perfect. I love it. This life is perfect. And too bad if you think this life is perfect, because you're going back to the Midnight Library anyway. Because when you're in the Midnight Library, you're in between life and death. It's the in between. So she's pulled back to the Midnight Library because her actual body is about to die. It's called the Midnight Library because time is stood still. It's at midnight, okay? And the moment time starts moving again, then time in the real world, in her root life, is happening. And so in her root life, she's actually dying. The librarian lied to her. She would have never been able to stay in any of these lives, okay? But it wasn't until she found a life that she was actually happy in that time started moving again and she was actually going to die. And she was taken out of the place that made her happy. It just, it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad, especially because the librarian lied to her. And then she ends up having to go back to her root life where she kills herself and she's miserable. And this is supposed to teach you a lesson of, like, it's all about perspective and, you know, don't be so sad. You can just make different choices. If you're truly depressed, no, it doesn't matter if you live all these lives. Like, I'm gonna be honest, if this happened to me, I went to the Midnight Library and they took me out of the life that finally made me happy and made me go back to the life that I hated so much that caused me to be in the Midnight Library, I would have been like, no, I'll just end it all. I don't care. I'm done. I just hated this book. I was so angry. And I immediately went to read the reviews. And it has all these fantastic reviews. Like, there are pages of praise for this book, okay? And I'm like, no. Maybe if you are a happy, normal person who doesn't struggle with anything in life, this book would be good. But if you are truly depressed and in a very dark place, this book is terrible. It's terrible. To me, I feel like if you were, you know, in the darkest of places, this would make you want to do bad things. Let's just say that. It's just, no, it made me so mad. And so then I started reading the bad reviews. I was like, no, go to the 1-star reviews. I had to read all the 1-star reviews, and they agreed. First of all, they were like, they hated the main character. They were like, oh, she's such a wet blanket. That was literally what someone, well, obviously she's gonna be a wet blanket. She's depressed and she hates everything. But a lot of people were saying that it was very, like, I can't remember, I want to say something like surface level, like, I don't know. The bad reviews agreed. They were like, this is terrible. And they all said, not all of them, but a lot of them said that it sounded like a teenager wrote this book. Like, it was just so superficial and just stupid. And I don't know. You definitely need to go read the reviews before you read this book if you're interested in it. I honestly, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. If you are a happy person, in no way sad or depressed at all, yes, read it. But if you are struggling or are just, I don't know, people are depressed for so many reasons, because financially, or they're not happy in their marriage, or they have health issues, or their friends abandon them or something. You could be depressed for any reason, or you can be depressed for no reason. It's a chemical imbalance in a brain. Don't read this. Do not read this. Okay. I thought this was going to be a completely different book. I thought it was going to be about like past lives, or it is about alternate realities, that kind of thing, but it's so depressing. It just put me into a deeper depression. Like, I tried to stay positive about things, and like, sometimes it's hard though, especially like when you're dealing with financial issues or health issues like me, or you're constantly in pain and nothing helps, it's very easy to get depressed. This, like, made me more depressed. You don't have to worry about me, I would never, but this made my depression worse, and then it made me angry, like, so no, I do not recommend this book. And also, I have to tell you, they're making this book into a movie. I don't know if I will watch it. Maybe the movie version will be more uplifting and like maybe make me feel the way I was supposed to feel when I read the book. But all I felt was just sad and negativity about this, and I don't see how this is an uplifting, like, motivational book, because in the good reviews, it said if you're depressed, read this book. No. If you are truly depressed, do not read this book. Don't. Because it'll make it worse. It will make it worse. Which sucks. It sucks, because I can see this book could have been great. But to me, nothing good happened. Nothing good happened. And when something finally went right, it was taken away. Oh, I don't know. I'm just so mad. I'm so mad at this book, and I do not recommend it. I don't know if I will watch the movie or not. So yeah, I'm sorry if you loved this book. It's one of your favorites, because apparently 400,000 people have given it 4-star reviews. Not me. I don't even know if I want to give this book to anyone. It really affected me in a very negative way. So I'm sorry again if you like the book. I do not. Anyway, I guess I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry. I couldn't think of anything good to say about it, because it just made me very sad and depressed, and I hate it. Do not read this book. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.